Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I have seen Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. It is a million times better than the first one. It is one of those very, very rare things where the sequel improves on absolutely everything the original intended in every way, shape, or form. The acting is a lot better. The special effects and the makeup and the creature design is a hell of a lot better, which you'll have seen that in the trailer.
Yeah.
So it's a hell of a lot better. It has a lot more fun with what it wants to do. The gore is there, a lot of practical effects. So I love the fact that the director has done a lot of practical effects. Um, the budget is not as high as a lot of people think it is, because a lot of people thought that the budget for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was around about 1 million. It's not. It's around about 350,000. So it's not as high as people think it is, but it's head and shoulders above the original. It's not to say it's still a fantastic film. It's not. It has a lot of problems still, but compare the first one, I can't recommend the sequel more than enough. It's definitely worth a fun kind of silly watch.
Because I'll always defend Winnie the Pooh, the first one, as a slasher movie. As a Winnie the Pooh adaptation, it's on very shaky ground because that's a very weird thing to do. But I've seen, and I'm sure you have, slasher films that are a lot worse than the first Blood and Honey. I know that Rob, who jumps on a podcast now and again, once a year or whatever, he barely made it into the first 15 minutes of the first Winnie the Pooh film. He fell out with it. He's like, I'm done. So he's not technically watched it, but he hates it. He's got a real issue with the fact that the filmmakers are doing a Pooniverse where they're bringing in all the Bambis, and he's like, it's not a Pooniverse. So he just keeps banging the drum of, it can't be a Pooniverse if Bambi's in it. I'm like, it can be because it's the characters that they're doing. So Rob, shut up.
Have you seen the trailer for Bambi the Reckoning?
No, I haven't. No.
There's a teaser trailer out there for Bambi the Reckoning, which just looks like a deer going on a murderous rampage. That's all it is. So yeah, there is the trailer for that, and then you've got the Pinocchio one, you've got Peter Pan, which I do quite like the poster for the Peter Pan one. So that's sort of like made me slightly interested in that. You always that's the thing with Peter Pan though, there is always that malevolent sort of like murderous element to the character of Peter Pan. You think there is something seriously wrong with this guy. He could flip on the spin of a switch, and you expect him to pull out a chainsaw and chop somebody's head off.
Well, it creeps through the windows of children, so you can start with that basis. That's pretty creepy. Certainly, looking through with the eyes that we have nowadays, maybe in the 70s, 80s, and whatnot, not so much. Now, very creepy.
But yeah, I sort of like, you can sort of like leave Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey to one side, because after the first 10 minutes is an absolutely utter travesty of a film. The first 10 minutes is fantastic. I love that sort of like animation kind of opening. It's brilliantly well done. The sequel has a recap on what happened in that. It actually even uses footage from that, very similar to like Demons 2 or whatever. It uses footage from it. And I love the fact that he did that, because it's him saying, look how much this film has evolved over the course of a year. Like, you look at the mask that Winnie the Pooh was wearing in the first one, and then you look at the prosthetics and the makeup and things like that in the sequel, and you go, that's a year? That you've managed to do that in 1 year? So I'm sort of like interested to see what you can do in the space of a few years then, if that's what you can do in that 1 year. So he's somebody who sparked an interest in me a little bit. So I recommend Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 when it gets an official release here in the UK.
I remember when the first one aired and I watched it, and it was fine, and I'll defend it. But my hope was that the filmmakers would learn from the first one, and not just, when they made a second one, is not just carbon copy the second one. And it sounds like they haven't just carbon copied it, so they have learned, which is really good.
Definitely learned. It's sort of like the first one is like they've took it to their first thesis in university, like the study film. And they'll go, you know what, we need to create a quick horror film because I'm taking horror or whatever, or that's the area of film that I'm interested in. And the first one feels like that. And the sequel feels like they've learned techniques and styles and how to handle practical effects and makeup and costume designs and how to create a set piece and things like that over the course of the time of their course that they're on in university, and being told, take what you've learned in the first film that you've created at the start of the year and then bring it into what you're creating for your final thesis, etc. And that's how it feels like that. They've come on absolute leaps and bounds, and I'm hoping I haven't bigged them up too much where they just trip over their own feet for the Peter Pan film or the Bambi film or whatever.
Or Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3, which has already been greenlit as well. So
Yeah,